All right, everybody. I am super excited today to have Terrence Murphy on here from on the Abundance to Give podcast. I mean, I've been waiting for this one for a while. You're super busy, but it's incredible the amount of things that you do. And it fits right into the theme of really what this podcast is about, is to interview successful people. But really what we're going to dive into is the philanthropy, the giving back, really the underlying factors of why you do what you do for your family, your kids, your wife, bringing in faith in there a little bit and diving a few layers deep beyond just, hey, how did you do it? Why do you do it? Give us some tidbits and hey, let's be successful. We really want to get into the deeper why behind it, your love, your passion for things, your camp that you put on, the foundations that you do, because that's really what it's all about, is giving back, helping others, and then watching how that actually brings more abundance to you. Hence the whole purpose of Abundance to Give. So I wanted to kind of start off some funny little questions that I think would be interesting for you if your kids were ever watching this. But you have 3 kids, right?
We got 3, and we actually got
was this big news today?
Big news.
Beautiful. So you got a 4th on the way.
Yeah.
Good for you. Congratulations.
Yeah.
Do you know the boy-girl thing yet?
No, not yet. It's the surprise for sure.
Surprise. But you have 2 girls and a boy right now, right?
2 girls and a boy. Yeah.
If they were on here right now and I said, hey, kiddos, tell me 1 or 2 quotes that your dad, like the sayings he always says, that would, that they'd be like, oh, he always says this. He always does this. He always acts this way. What would they be?
Yeah. On the saying side, I'd say they would probably say, be a leader, not a follower. I always tell them that. And I always say with hard work and faith, you can achieve anything. So they hear me say those 2 things probably till I'm blue in the face. And then how would I act? When I'm at home with them, man, we joke, we laugh, we just have a blast. They're like my little best friends. It's the coolest thing because I don't really hang out a lot with people, right? If I'm not working, I'm at home with my kids and my wife. My wife's my business partner. She's my best friend. And then my kids are right there with her. But other than that, they probably be like, well, daddy's pretty serious when it comes to business and work and doing things the right way. My wife and I, we're pretty strict on our kids. And so most of the time when we go places, people think our kids are a lot older because we just expect a lot out of them.
Just the way you kind of raised them, I'm sure, and instilled some certain how to treat people, how to act in certain, I'm sure, like you're like grinding them, which is, it's good.
Well, it's one of those things, in America now, it's not what 80s babies grew up with those kind of upbringings, right?
Sure.
Now you get the Gen X and everything, and people just aren't raising kids the same. And so that's why we sold our house. We had a beautiful home, our dream home in a golf course community, Jack Nicklaus golf course community. We sold it and we moved out to our ranch. Yeah. So we're on hundreds of acres, and they were helping me work the cows, and they got chores, and we're just kind of slowing it down.
Yeah, I love it. And you grew up originally in, is it Tyler, Texas?
I grew up in East Texas, Tyler, Texas. Grew up in the country and County Road 25, man.
And for, folks that are watching, and so Terrence is a Texas Aggie, Texas A&M, got drafted, I think, 2nd round by the Green Bay Packers. Is that right? Kind of give me a quick synopsis on that so people kind of understand that path. And then the major story from the injury and that kind of led you to this, where you're at today and being real estate development. I mean, is there anything you don't do? That's what I'm trying to figure out with your background and your companies. And it's unreal,
Yeah, I think at this point, if it's real estate, I'm involved in some way, shape, form, or fashion. We have 20 companies that my wife and I own and run. And then we're invested in another 30 companies.
Wow.
So we're involved in about 50 companies. We love putting companies in our portfolio, fintech, prop tech, anything that's going to push the industry forward. We've now started looking at ag tech companies because I have an ag degree. I have cattle. So I grow up Black Angus cattle and have a hay ranch. And so, yeah, man. But
trade those cattle?
Huh?
Do you trade the cattle, or is it just for?
Yeah. So I grew up with replacement heifers and bulls. And, you kind of have to turn your herd over time. But no, I try to keep most of them. I'm growing my herd right now.
That's great.
Yeah. So story is born and raised in East Texas, single mom. She was a very studious, hardworking woman, and just taught us that if you put your mind to something, you can achieve it. And she never let us ever think that we were less than in any way, shape, form, or fashion. So that's why since I was a little kid, I walked in every room with my head up, my chest out, and I knew I was different. And not just because she told me that, but I just knew it. And so I've always been confident, even when I might have been the poor kid or this kid or that kid, I never let any of that affect me. I just put in the work and had the faith. So I ended up, my first couple of college offers were full rides to UNC, University of Washington, but they were academic. So they weren't even athletic offers because, I had a brain. Like people think all athletes are not smart, right? So that's just one of those misnomers. But I went to Texas A&M on a football academic scholarship, played there for 4 years, graduated in 3.5, left with every record in the record books, 2-time first team all conference, 3-time academic all conference, freshman All-American, whatever. 2-time team captain, and then got drafted, went to the Green Bay Packers, had a neck injury my rookie year. I was in the Aaron Rodgers draft class. He was the first pick, and I was the second pick. So I actually was his Batman and Robin. So I was the Robin, he was the Batman.
Did you play more with Brett or with Aaron or both? Yeah,
I played more with Brett, but in practice and in OTAs, because I would run with the ones with Brett Favre, but then I ran with the twos with A-Rod. And me and A-Rod, we used to eat people alive in practice. We ate the first team defense alive. And I remember even at one point, Nick Barnett came over and said, A-Rod, is that the only person you throw to is Terrence Murphy? They call me T Murphy. You just throw T Murphy every play? And he was like, why wouldn't I? He's open. And so, we had a great friendship. He was my roommate in camp and on the road. And I'm so proud of what he's achieving now. And with my injury, I just had to pivot and decide what was next for me. And then God showed me real estate.
Yeah, and it's an amazing story kind of walking through that because it's pretty scary with the injury that you did have. It's no wonder if you're going to fully walk again and just the whole background behind it. And then for you to pull out of that. And it's kind of where I wanted to dive in a little bit further here is like, how big of a role does faith play in your life? And has it led you in certain directions that you didn't really expect? I'm sure the answer both is yes, but like how big of a role does it play? And obviously I'm sure it instills in your children too. So.
Yeah, it's one of my mottos, hard work and faith. Literally, I've been saying that for a long, long time. Just even my story to get to Texas A&M, I played quarterback my whole life. And I had 17 to be a quarterback at other universities. And I chose
to go passing to quarterback, and then you went into the wide receiver side. Gotcha.
I chose to move to wide receiver.
Gotcha.
And so I didn't agree with it. Nobody agreed with it because I was a really good quarterback. But I had a dream that I had, and I just knew my opportunity to go to that next level I felt was going to be a wide receiver. So I moved to Texas A&M and moved to wide receiver. And people were like, why would you go to one of the top 10 programs in college football and change positions? You've never played wide receiver. But that's just who I am. Like, I don't mind following my own gut. And because I know at the end of the day, if it works out, great. If it doesn't, I look in the mirror and say, I made the decision. So that's where that faith came in. I've always been a faith-based person, not because I'm perfect, because none of us are. But my faith in what God puts in my heart and in my spirit and how he speaks to me is something that it's always been my navigating point. Yeah. Even with starting our brokerages and everything, I don't have any mentors. I've just done a lot of this through reading books and praying about it.
And, with kind of the giving back side of it in falling into this level of abundance to give, you give, there's a lot of entrepreneurs out there, a lot of people doing very successful things, but the level at which you do it and how you manage it is beyond me, but it's incredible. So let's talk about your camp. And then I think you and your wife, Erica, also have another foundation on top of that too. Yeah. But I kind of want to learn about the camp and how you're giving back to kids and helping kind of not only from the football side, but just camaraderie, raising them, mindset, all the things, business acclimate. I think that's really important for the mentorship and the education, right? You have to give kids the ability to believe. And then you have to teach them, either whether it's financial literacy or anything like that. It's just all about the mentorship and education to give them that upside.
Yeah. So I lived my whole life by 5. That's where the whole T and 5 comes in. I live by a scripture, Matthew 5, which is salt and light, right? Our goal is to impact people with our actions, not our words. I think as believers, we do too much talking, and then people can't see it in your actions. They need to see it in your actions throughout business. They need to see it in your actions when you meet them at Cabo at a random table, right? When you're not met, they need to see it in your actions. They need to feel your energy. And it can't be this arrogant, I'm Terrence Murphy, former NFL. No one cares about any of that. They care about how you make them feel and how you treat them and how you do business, right? And so that's the thing I'm always teaching my kids. And so I'm passionate about different segments of life. One that I'm passionate about is single moms and underprivileged kids, because that was my life. I'm very passionate about athletes transitioning, because that was also my life. And then I'm also very passionate about real estate agents. I think real estate agents get left behind in so many ways. Everybody thinks we make so much money, but in reality, real estate agents are depressed. Our failure rate is so high. 50% of agents don't make it out of year 1. The 50% that make it a year 2 don't make it out of year 2. By year 3, only 25% make it. And by year 5, 87% of agents are out of the industry. That's a pandemic.
And right? No, that's straight data.
NAR statistics. Yeah. So it's like, so I'm passionate about those different segments. And so what we do to give back is we're blessed to be a blessing, right? I think when you genuinely think about other people, not that you need to sacrifice, because I think that's where people get it wrong when they're thinking about giving back, that they got to give up something to give. It's just, no, when you're blessed to be a blessing, that means you have overflow. Your water is running over in your cup. So if I love how you
say that, blessed to be a blessing. I haven't heard that before. That's cool.
Yeah, man, your water is overrunning in your cup. So I'm not taking anything out of this cup. It's just running over. So I'm catching the overflow and I'm giving it to you because you're thirsty. It's that simple. And so what we do with our camp, Terrence Murphy camp, I couldn't get creative. I just said, all right, Terrence Murphy camp.
Keep it original, baby.
Yep. Football, finance, and faith. That's where we're different. And when I first pitched this vision of my camp to my team, they were like, time out. So we're going to bring in kids and talk to them about finance, financial literacy. Okay. And we're going to talk to them about faith. All right. And we're going to talk to them about football. But we did it, man. We've had our second annual one this year, and we were having it in East Texas. We moved it to College Station, and the team said, when do you want to have it? I said, in 2 weeks. They said, in 2 weeks. I said, yes. We planned this thing, did it in 2 weeks. We had 550 kids show up.
Wow.
Yeah, dude,
the first year you did it. So you've done it 1 year and you're going to do it a second? Is that what I'm understanding?
This was my second year. We did it in College Station. We did it the first year in East Texas. We had 550
First year you had 500 kids?
Well, the first year we had about 400 kids. This year in College Station, we had 550 kids show up.
Wow.
Yeah. So, yeah, it was a blessing.
What kind of feedback, obviously it's been positive, but what kind of feedback are you hearing from the parents of these kids? It's like, the abundance, and then it's got to be, it's not like you go for trying to get anything back, but it's got to be paying itself back to you in so many different ways. Maybe not even financially, but it's just fulfillment. But talk about that for a minute.
Yeah, one of the things that God taught me years ago, I remember when I retired and moved back to College Station and I recommitted my life to Christ, and I was trying to talk to all my teammates. That was my first time I was leading Bible studies, and they were not responding the way I thought they should respond. And I remember God saying, hey, you just set the seed and get out of the way. I don't need you, but I will use you. And that was something that I was like, okay. So what he was telling me is like, just do your part and I got the rest. And so that's kind of the mentality that I'm doing with these kids. I'm just setting the seeds and I'm seeing that harvest grow in ways that I'll never see. Like there'll be an impact that ripples through those young men that I'll never physically get to see, but I know God is going to do something with it. We had 50 kids at the camp step out of the aisle, raise their hand, walk to the front in front of all their teammates, not trying to be cool, and say, I want to know Jesus. We had 50 kids at a football camp give their life to Christ. That's crazy. Wow. So that's the type of impact. Like for me at this point in life, you talk about the hierarchy of needs, and them all, Maslow's theory or whatever. I'm not going to go into that, but I'm at that place now. It's not about me anymore. I've had enough success for multiple lifetimes. So I want to see other people succeed, and I want to see other people be the best versions of themselves. And that's what I'm focused on.
Yeah, and where you and I had met originally, even with your wife, was down in Cabo at an EXP event 2 years ago. And you talked about energy for a minute, like a few minutes ago. And it's funny because I had sensed that after meeting you and sitting at the table and talking, and then that Grant Cardone, and they came to that event as well with Elena. But yeah, that energy, that positive, kind of humble, not being this gargantuous, ostentatious character, right? And some people have certain personalities, some people don't. I always joke with people when they're like, what should I do? I'm like, I mean, Tom Brady's one of my idols. I'm like, what would Tom Brady do? Right? Yeah. He doesn't really say a lot. He always says the right thing on camera, but then he just goes and murders it on the field and allows the actions to speak louder, right? And then just kind of does his deal and doesn't say much. And that's, honest to goodness, the best approach, because people will see that, and then the respect level goes through the roof versus people that come out with certain personality styles. So,
well, I think if anybody hasn't realized, I did. I was at the height of an athletic career. I mean, you got to think, we're in the United States. Football trumps anything. It is what it is. People could argue about baseball maybe, but no, football is like the sport in our country. And I was top 50 player in the world at one point.
Yep.
And was in the NFL playing with a Hall of Famer. I mean, when we went on the road with Brett Favre, it was like we went on the road with Michael Jackson. I mean, I'm not exaggerating, bro. We get off the bus with IM, get off the bus in Miami. People are like falling out and stuff. And as we're going in the hotel, and I was there, bro, but God had a different plan. But I realized that things can change overnight. And so you just got to always stay even keeled.
What were your years in the NFL?
So I got drafted in 05 class, and then I retired in 07.
Okay. So I went to the Super Bowl in San Diego. It was the Denver Broncos against the Green Bay Packers. Elway against Favre. Hands down, one of the best Super Bowls I've ever seen in my life, because that's the one where Elway won his first.
Yep.
He did the whole helicopter spin in the air and all that stuff. I mean, I'll never forget it, because I was sitting there on almost the 55-yard line watching this thing go down like this with Terrell Davis and all these guys. And I remember that game. It was almost a comeback. It was like, who's going to have the ball last was literally going to win the game.
Yeah.
It was like one of the greatest games I've ever seen in my life, and happened to be a Super Bowl. So I remember that, watching Brett Favre, as they like to say.
Brett Favre. But yeah, I mean, that's why we're blessed, man, to be able to be abundant, like you said, abundant to give. And we all have a different calling, right? We all have a different ministry. We all have a different task. We can't all do football camps, right? So I always challenge everybody, don't be like me, be you. Everybody else is already taken. So just be you, be unique, and follow your challenge. For me, that's my space. I'm also focused on another nonprofit called the 99%, where I'm helping athletes transition. And then I'm also focused on, I have a new coaching business. I'm only doing the coaching business to help real estate agents.
Yeah. And it's funny you bring that up, because I see what you're doing. And it's like, I think the same thing, because I'm sitting there going, like, coming from the realtor life, like you see such the hamster wheel that goes on, and how many realtors are just realtors, and they don't look beyond it. Like, oh, maybe I should not just help people transact. I should actually own the real estate myself.
Yeah.
Like, yes. Like I said, it's where do you want to be on the totem pole?
Yeah.
Right. Because I started in the real estate industry coming out of college, actually as a title rep. Right. And got into the title and escrow business. And then I did that for a few years, and then said, hey, I really want to go back, get my graduate degree, et cetera. But then it's always been this thought, okay, yeah, you can do the real estate thing, but the goal is always to be the principal.
Yeah.
Or you can help people transact. That's great. But really it's to own yourself, be a part of it, be a principal in tandem with helping other people do the exact same thing. So yeah, coaching that and teaching people that, it's amazing. I didn't realize how many realtors really want to learn it.
Yes.
I mean, we have 1 point something million realtors, almost 2 million realtors in the US. And how many really would love to be an investor as well? Realtor investor, as we call them. They just don't know how to make that first few steps. And you're teaching them that, right? And then it's funny because I'm starting to do the exact same thing, because it's easy to help people in that, because I get it. I've done it myself. I grew up through it. So I love to just give it back and see if we can help some folks do the same thing.
Well, like you said, the podcast is abundant to give, right? So I broke my course down into 3 paths. And I tell them you have to go in this order: $1 billion real estate agent. I'm teaching guys how to set up teams, how to leverage personality profiles, how to hire, how to set up their team with listings and pipelines and strategy and all this stuff, putting a good foundation in place to grow an organization. I tell them, if you want to sell 25 to 200 million a year, I have the playbook for you to do that. Great. Now you take the cash flow off of that real estate team that you're not going out doing every open house. You're not putting out every sign. You're not putting out every lockbox. You're not drawing up every contract. You set up a team that's operating without you. You still are involved, but you're not doing everything. Then what does that do? It gives you free time to do what? Now take the resources from that business and go invest. Just like Robert Kiyosaki says, we have a career, our money has a career. So your money's career is going to be the $1 billion real estate investor. And then I walk you through that path. And then my crown jewel, which is my third path, is the $1 billion real estate entrepreneur. Because I say on every transaction, there's 20 to 25 vendors, companies that make money.
Yeah.
Mortgage, title, insurance, home warranty, surveyor,
security systems. I mean, on landscapers, just the list goes on and on and on.
So there's a way to buy into those businesses, not run them, but be affiliated with them, disclose it to your clients. And now you're participating in owner distributions and draws from a company that you're not even doing day-to-day operations on.
Sure. Yeah, you're almost basically a passive investor in it, which is crazy.
And then now let's talk about estates and taxes and cost segregation and all those things. But yeah, that's the game. I'm giving them everything, bro.
Was your first step into the multifamily space in student housing? Is that where you first started in the multi? And then now into the traditional long-term rental stuff as well. Why the student housing? And at what point did you jump into the first large multifamily deal that wasn't student?
So great question. So I actually started in 2005. I was 22 years old. And my financial advisor introduced me to a private equity group in Dallas. Now they're one of the bigger groups, Stillwater Capital. And they actually just got the new PGA headquarters. So that's their project. I'm proud of them.
Wow.
So I was a limited partner in their multifamily deals, 2005, 6, 7, 8. Well, 08 hit and I said, hey, I'm retired. I retired in 07. My wife graduated from UT. Let's move to College Station. And I said, hey, I'm going to stop investing passively in y'all's deals and I'm just going to take my resources and just figure it out on my own. So I started doing urban development. I just had this mindset that I knew Texas A&M's campus wasn't going anywhere. It's one of the biggest campuses in America. It's 5,200 acres. And I said, all right, here's what I'll do. I'll just buy everything that I can in that 1 mile radius of campus. Then obviously we go to the SEC, Johnny Manziel wins the Heisman, we blow up. Now they're like one of the smartest people in America, right? People were sleeping on College Station back then in 08, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'd always, Longhorns, right? And UT, and I've obviously learned a ton about Texas in the last, several years, but especially with now Texas A&M and the Aggies, and you just learn all about the different areas. So yeah, I'd always surrounded with UT versus Aggies.
Yeah. UT got all the attention, but we're a better school.
I love it.
Yeah. But so start buying that. Then I started rezoning, replatting, going vertical. So that's where I cut my teeth in student housing, doing these townhome projects, multifamily, small to mid multifamily, maybe, 50, 75 bed type stuff. And I did that for 10 years, man. And that's when I ended up getting into real estate because people would come to me, hey, Terrence, can you help me do that? And I don't have a license. So after doing that for 2.5 years, I got my license, went to Keller Williams for a year, became a realtor there, thought I was going to get trained, didn't get trained. And then that's when I started TM5. And I started an independent brokerage from scratch after 7 transactions.
Unbelievable.
So it was crazy.
I mean, that just goes to show you, but it also show you your grit. I mean, your determination is it's got to be outrageous for you to have the mental toughness. They always say, right, to weather through the naysayers, weather through the ups and downs, weather through people telling you no. I mean, it takes an enormous amount of mental toughness to go through that. So that's a testament to that for sure.
Yeah. And that's where we scaled and got in there. So that's how we transitioned into sales. But then we started, as we built our portfolio of these small to mid townhome projects and houses, we were doing BFRs. Now the Lennar Homes, these bigger builders are making BFRs more of a name brand now, but I've been doing those small to mid developments for a long time.
I didn't know that Lennar is doing these, like a bunch of build for rent type communities. So I didn't know that.
Yeah, a lot of those bigger production builders are doing it now because think about it. In 2008, 9, and 10, when the market turned, what did they get caught with? Lots.
A bunch of inventory. Yeah.
A lot of lots. So now that's a trade-out plan for them. Instead of selling onesie twosies, we can go sell 200 homes to a private equity firm like Blackstone. And I don't know if you know this statistic, but 28%, so a third of the houses that sold in 2021 in Texas were by private equity firms.
You know, I didn't know that specific number, but I was watching it because it's been nationwide too. I mean, that's hence one of the reasons for a major supply problem with all the investors buying up the houses versus individuals, and then on top of that, COVID and people not wanting to move. I mean, it's just gotten really bad. So it's very interesting to see. And I don't know if they're still buying up a ton or if they pulled back. I know at least in Southern California, a lot of them pulled back at least temporarily.
I think with Texas, they're still doubling down because, like, you know, Governor Abbott just announced we had 60 different Fortune 500 companies moved to Texas in the last 36 months.
Yeah.
So people,
you have such a massive inward migration into Texas versus, say, California. Everybody's like, you know, so I don't blame them.
Yeah.
You know, I don't blame
so to give you the final answer, that's when I said, okay, what we're doing has been great, but let's look at another. So we started doing commercial stuff, triple net stuff, Starbucks, Buffalo Wild Wings, and then we just naturally moved into bigger multifamily. So we're in the syndication space. That's how you and I really connected.
Yeah.
We've been doing that for about 1.5 years now, and it's going really well.
Very good. Holy cow. I love it. So I heard this question asked by somebody else on another famous podcast. I'm going to ask you the same one. Imagine it's your last week on this planet and you can't take any of your knowledge with you. And there's 3 things that you want to leave for everybody to know. Right? Can't take it with you. It's 3 things. You're like, the world's got to know this. I want to leave this with you, even if it's mine or I've taken it from somebody else. Well, what are those 3 things? If you can, I'm putting you on the spot, but what would they be?
Yeah. Number 1, know God, right? Truly know God for yourself, not for somebody else, not for their interpretation or opinion. Know him for yourself. Number 2, financial literacy matters. It doesn't matter how many degrees you have. It doesn't matter how much money you make. It doesn't matter if you don't have financial literacy on why savers don't win the money game and you have to put your money to work, then you'll always be on that hamster wheel. And then number 3, focus on yourself first, because if you're not in a good place, you can't pour out to anybody else. And I think if you can focus on your spiritual piece, your financial literacy piece, and your mental health and physical health, I think just those 3 things can change a lot of people's lives that we all neglect those 3 things.
Yeah, you see it pretty often where, people are wanting to give, they want to give back, but then they end up doing so much of that, but they haven't even actually got their own ducks in a row where they can actually, like you said, overfill the cup and allow that cup to fill out onto others, because theirs is only half full and they're like fighting that, right? So how do you even give to others if you can't even like take care of your own situation? But their intentions are great. It's just maybe the execution side is not quite there yet. And I think we all catch ourselves trying to do more, than we probably should, right? And trying to stay narrow-minded, narrow focused. How in the world do you manage all these companies?
Well, I was just we're on the same page. You took me right where I was about to go. I think the misnomer, I had a pastor tell me, your no's are going to be so much more important than your yeses. And you got to learn to say no 100 times more to your yeses. So when people see 20 ventures, 30 invested, 50 companies, they don't understand how many no's I've said to get to that one company, right, that I've invested in. And one of the things that I'm really managing hard right now is who I give my time to.
Sure.
Like, because if not, I'll say your life is a puzzle and your time are those puzzle pieces. And people will take their piece of the puzzle every day, every week, every year, strip your puzzle apart and not care what it looks like at the end of the day, right? And then you're left going home to your family with this broken puzzle. So I'm really careful on who I give my time to. I'm being very strategic. I'm looking for like-minded people that have good spirits, that are humble and want to do great things. And if they're doing anything else other than that, I'm not really interested at this point. You know, we're at a place in life, we're not 15 anymore. We don't have to worry about impressing people and all that BS. Like, life is short, and I just want to spend it with good people, man, and leave an impact.
Yeah.
But how I manage is growing up leaders. Traction, Gino Wickman. That book changed my life. And
what is it called again?
Gino Wickman. Traction by Gino Wickman.
Okay.
That book changed my life.
Why so?
Because it took. He's got a book series, but and Gino, if you listen to this one day, you owe me some money because I'm always talking about it. Because
the 4 million people watching the podcast, right now.
Yeah, there it is. So Rocket Fuel breaks down a visionary and an integrator. And when you really understand who you are and you find that Batman and Robin personality, your businesses go like this. Mm. So now as I bring in people, because now at this point we have about 450 people that work for us directly or indirectly. When I'm talking to people, I want to know the person. I want to know that they're not a robot, but I look at their personality profile and do they match up with my job description? So all of my job descriptions now have a personality profile attached. And no matter how awesome you are in an interview, if you don't match the personality profile, it's like me trying to be a kicker.
Yeah.
I'm a great athlete, but I don't have the mindset, the temporal status, the ability to be a great kicker in the fourth quarter, no matter how hard I want to do it. Yeah. So that's what we're doing in business. We're putting people in the wrong seats.
Yeah. No,
we're expecting them to perform.
They're mismatched with, like you said, their best strengths, right? So there's the book Strength Finder, which you may or may not be aware of. It's out there about the DISC. It's all about DISC tests, right? And understanding the 4 personality styles, and then primary, secondary, and understanding how to put people in the position where they're going to be successful. Like, you don't put, someone that's maybe a DI personality in a hyper analytical, organized position.
Nope.
They're going to implode, or something, and vice versa. You don't take somebody that's hyper analytical and try and stick them in a high sales position that needs to be a socialite, because they're probably an introvert who needs like structure, systems, boom, 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 boom. Like, you just can't do that. Otherwise they're going to fail. And then you're wondering like why they're failing. Is because you're setting them up to fail. Because like you said, you're not matching the personality profiles. I literally just gave that test to some friends because I started talking about it. They're like, what is this? And I gave it to them, and then they took it and I graded it, and then I gave them the descriptions on what each is, and it like nailed them to a T. And they're like, I can't believe I've never taken this before. Like, this is crazy. Like, why in the world have I'm like, can't speak to that, but you should have. And then you should be giving it to anybody you hire or anybody you date. I don't know, so you can kind of find that alignment of personalities. So you don't, there's compatibility in that. So.
Well, then you end up figuring out who you are. I think every high school kid and every college kid should take it. Their senior year in high school and their senior year in college, because you sometimes evolve, right? You can move on the wheel.
Oh, I have on mine.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I started as a CS, which was analytical, and then like that's just kind of like the soccer mom. But now I've realized I'm really migrated into a CD. So I have to be a driver director, but then have the organization and the systems and logistics and a little more of the analytical side meshed in with, you got to go and make decisions. You can't just be timid and sit back.
For sure.
So I've had to kind of adapt, at least for myself on that front.
Yeah.
So let me ask you a question before we finish up here. Which foundation do you want? Because we're going to play a little Green Bay Packers trivia. I have like 3 to 4 questions. We'll do 5 questions. If you get 3 of the 5 right, $500 goes to your charity or foundation of choice.
Okay.
If you don't get 3 of the 5 right, it's $150. So you win either way.
Let's go. I'm terrible with Green Bay Packer.
Oh, really? Oh, come on, Terrence. You're supposed to have this down.
Let's go. I'm ready.
90% of them are going to be about Aaron Rodgers or Brett Favre. All right, let's see. There was one really good one in here. You'll get this one. Hopefully. Which is the street name of Lambeau Field?
The street name of
What's
Lambeau
the street
Field?
name that Lambeau Field is on?
It's
there's
Lambeau
this
Way,
thing,
right?
this trophy thingy,
Yeah, it's the Lombardi.
There you go. Lombardi Avenue. Ding.
I actually used to drive a 1962 SS Impala. It was yellow. That was my game day car.
Really?
Yeah.
Do most players have a game day car in?
Yeah.
Because I'm sure there's some. What's the word? People are. Why am I blanking?
When Mojo, get the vibes.
Yeah, you need the right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Here's another one I saw in here that I really liked.
Yeah, so Lombardi, that one's obvious.
That was the easy one. That was too easy. Too easy. All right, here's the other one. Who was the coach in 2007?
2007, Mike McCarthy.
Yeah. Ding. Number 2. See, I'm starting you off. I'm warming you up here. Let's see if you know this one. To whom did Brett Favre complete his first career pass to?
First career pass. Oh, man. Was it Antonio Freeman or Brooks?
It was actually to himself.
What? Oh, he got knocked up in the air.
It actually passed. His first career pass was to himself. You got to imagine that one. Let's see. Which NFC division were the? That's not a good one. It's not a good one. Let's do. Do you know what date or what year the Ice Bowl was played?
Oh, heck no. But let's guess.
Yes.
Let's see, 1950s.
A little later than that, 1967.
Oh, okay.
But you're in somewhat of the realm.
Yep.
Somewhat of the realm. Okay, I'm going to give you an easy third one to have a shot here. Kind of. Hold on. Ooh, this should be interesting. Quarterback Aaron Rodgers established himself as one of the league's finest signal callers in the 2010s. After leading his team to a 12-4 record in 2014, Rodgers was named the league MVP. At that point, how many times had a Packers player won the MVP? This is kind of a tough one.
I think Brett won it twice.
Let's just say that it is greater than 9 and less than 11.
What? Brett's, you talking about Barstar won it that many times?
No. Well, there's 10 times. So the question was, how many times has a Packers player won the MVP?
Oh, won the MVP.
Correct.
Oh, I thought you said that he won it like one person won it multiple times.
Oh, gosh, that'd be incredible. There was 10 times.
Well, now A-Rod's won it 3 times.
Has he really?
He just won it back to back.
I didn't know that.
And then he
deserves it. It's it's incredible watching him. 10 times. So you officially won $500. Where do you want it to go? You want it to your foundation, obviously to your camp or the other foundation?
Yeah, Terrence Murphy Camp Football Finance and Faith. We run that camp under the Erica and Terrence Murphy, Terrence and Erica Murphy Foundation.
Oh, beautiful. And finishing up, predictions for the NFL season here coming up. What's going to happen with Green Bay? What's the story with Aaron Rodgers right now? I haven't even been following it that much. Is he still with the team?
He's the highest paid player in the NFL right now. He just signed a mega deal with Green Bay.
Okay, he did. Okay, I should have.
We went 14-2 the last 2 years.
I know. And
we can't get over the NFC Championship game into the Super Bowl. But I believe this year we'll go 13-3 and we'll be in the NFC Championship game again.
How do you think the coach, that young coach, it's amazing to see how he's taken this role on and what he's doing over there. Is it him specifically? Obviously, there's a combo effect, but do you think him and Aaron Rodgers get along, or is there some issues there?
I think they get along well. I think the front office has done a great job with the moves that they've made in the offseason and with the draft. And I think it's moving to, in order to connect with these guys, these are different guys playing. This whole hire an old coach who can come out there and scream at people and demand things from people and practice until they're blue in the face and throwing up. That's
the old school days, right?
That doesn't work anymore, man. So you need these young, relatable guys who can connect with these guys on a different level and get them to play for them. And if you look at what Cliff Kingsbury is doing, you look at what the Rams coach is doing, you look at what the coach in the Bengals is doing, and I played against him in college when he's at Nebraska. So you look at these guys, they're all under 40 years old, and they're doing really, really well. So
yeah, they're probably, like you said, they're relatable. They're coming in, they're bringing not just this hardcore approach of grind, yell, do what I tell you. And, we're going to win a Super Bowl. Because, I think the dynamics of the league have changed. The players, the people, just in general, they need to be motivated by different things. It's not the same as it was in the past. So.
No, that doesn't work anymore. It really didn't. Look at Saban. He went to the Miami the year I got drafted, and he was there in Miami screaming at people and doing the same stuff he does in college. And I heard a couple of stories because I had friends on the team. They're just not going for it. Like, it's not going to happen. So, yeah, it's a different place. But thanks so much, bro, for having me on the show.
Yeah, thank you for coming on, giving us a little bit of your time and sharing it with everybody. And it is all about abundance to give, and seeing how it's really impacted your life, faith, family, and everything you're doing. So, and one of these days we're doing a deal together, finally.
We're going to make it happen. You're going to be at Build in Dallas?
What's that?
You're going to be at the Build Conference?
I am. Are you going to be there with Tony Robbins and stuff in a week or so?
Yeah, I'll see you next week.
Beautiful.